then the schools decided that the evacuation had to come about. So my sister Iris and I, we were put on a train at Southsea, taken to the pier, taken over to the Isle of Wight. And I remember distinctly being so unhappy because we were in the village hall on the Isle of Wight, my sister and I, with a whole row of children, and nobody wanted us because we were sisters and we were hand in hand and we didn't want to be separated. So we were the very, very last, and I kept on thinking, they don't like us, nobody wants us, they don't like us. However, we did go with a couple. It was very unfortunate. I was very unhappy. This lady had never had any children, so she didn't really know how to comfort children. And she would make all sorts of things. You're not allowed to go in here and you mustn't touch this, and I was desperately unhappy. But the one thing she did do was make me take her dog for a walk. Well, as I told you, I was a skinny thing, I wasn't all that big, and the dog was quite large. And so she'd give me the lead and I had to walk it up for its walk. Well, it used to get to a hedge and try to pull me through the hedge, and I'd think, well, let it go. No, just let it go. And this lady was furious with me. I remember her name, it was Mrs. Legg. So she then got very upset with us, and we were moved. We were moved twice, and my mother got so upset about it all that she came and brought us home, and she said, well, if we go, we all go together. And anyway, so we stayed in the house for about, now I took the 11 plus examination, so that I must have been about 11, wouldn't I? 10 and a half, 11. And I remember that one of the school teachers came to my mother and said, look, I've selected so many children to give them private instruction to get them through the examination for the grammar school. Would you like me to take Brenda on? So she said yes, she would. We then, so I took the examination, passed it, and we then, my mother said she couldn't stand it any longer, and we evacuated ourselves out to Gloucestershire. And we went to Gloucestershire, and we had this cottage, which used to be an old forge, the old village forge. And it had no water, no electricity, and no sanitation. And so the loo was a chemical loo kept in a stable down the yard. So the change from being in Portsmouth was traumatic. But the worst thing was that my poor mother, when I think she was a pretty young woman of 30, every week had to take a spade. She used to don a leather coat, I can always remember this, and Wellington boots, pull a hat down over her head and put some gloves on, and she'd go down with the spade and dig a hole in the orchard and empty the chemical loo. And that, I think, stands out in my mind an awful lot. Where we were in Gloucestershire, it was a very beautiful part, and it was masses of apple plantations. So she used to pick apples, but then so did I. In fact, I used to go with her and pick apples, and that's how I bought my first bicycle. So she didn't work per se, but she just did these little odd things for company. She did apple picking, raspberry picking. In fact, we grew raspberries in the orchard. And things like that, more or less for company, not necessary because we needed the money.